So good morning friends, I am Ashish Agarwal, founder of NGOenabler, and today I will discuss about a very interesting topic. Administrative and establishment expenses have always been an area of doubt that what expenses or which expenses should be considered as administrative and establishment in nature. So today I will discuss the expenses that should be considered as administrative and establishment for the purposes of Income Tax Act. The administrative and establishment expenses for a layman can be understood as those expenses which are incurred by the organization towards running of the trust or society, which might not be directly related to the charitable activities carried out by it. I repeat, those expenses which are incurred for running of the society or trust and which might not be directly related to the charitable activities carried out by it. So while computing the total income of the charitable organization for the purpose of section 11 and 12 of the Act, these expenses should actually be deducted from the total income before arriving at the amount available for expenditure. And on this topic, many of you are unaware of it, I am sure about that. Because many of the organizations are not deducting administrative and establishment expenses while computing their total income. Moreover, the same should also not be considered for the limit of 85% application as required under the said provisions. However, in our opinion, only those expenses which needs to be incurred even if no charitable activities are carried out during a particular year should be considered as administrative and establishment expenses. So the administration expenses incurred towards running of the school or project and those directly related or incurred in furtherance to the main objects of the society should definitely be allowed as an application of income for the purpose of the said provisions. No exclusive list, I repeat, no exclusive list of expenses has ever been released by the Income Tax Department or Central Board of Direct Taxes. However, practically certain expenditures are usually considered by them to be administrative and establishment expenses. So I am giving you a list of certain expenses which are considered so. Salary to office staff such as accounting charges if the accountant is not a permanent employee, office electricity, travelling and conveyance which is incurred not for the purpose of project, insurance if it is not related to the assets utilized for charitable purposes, rates and taxes which is not related to charity, audit fees again which is not related to the project, so the audit fees of the trust and the audit fees of the project, this is separate. Professional fees if it is not related to the project, legal charges. So these are certain expenditures which are usually considered as administrative and establishment in nature. So what I discussed was about the administrative and establishment expenses under the Income Tax Act. On the contrary, unlike Income Tax Act, under the FCRA, not only a list of specific expenditures have been clearly defined, which almost matches with the above list of expenditures in nature, but also such expenditure is allowed only to the extent of 50% of the total foreign contribution received. So, under FCRA, there is a list of specific expenditures which are considered as administrative in nature, but under Income Tax Act, practically they are considering certain expenditures, there is no specific list prescribed. So what are the expenses which is specified by the FCRA Act to be administrative and establishment? First, salaries, wages, travel expenses or remuneration realized by the members of the executive committee, not the employees, it's members of the executive committee, salaries, wages, travel expenses or remuneration. Second is all expenses towards hiring of personnel for management of the activities of the person and salaries, wages or any kind of remuneration paid including costs of travel to such personnel. Then comes all expenses related to consumables like electricity and water charges, telephone charges, postal charges, printing and stationery, and expenditure on office equipment. Cost of accounting for and administering funds are also considered as establishment or administrative in nature. Then comes expenses towards running and maintenance of vehicle, cost of writing and filling reports, legal and professional charges, and last comes the rent of premises, repairs to such premises, and expenses on other utilities. So again, 8 expenditures which we discussed in Income Tax Act were not specific but was practically considered by the Income Tax Department, and here are the list of 8 expenditures which are specifically considered as administrative in nature by the FCRA department. So however, expenses incurred directly in furtherance of the stated objectives of the welfare oriented organizations and expenditure incurred towards salaries, wages or remuneration of personnel engaged in training or collection of field data for a particular project of an organization which is engaged in research and training shall be excluded. So what we discussed above was the salaries, wages of the members of the executive committee or the persons who are hired to manage them, but for those people who are going in the field and collecting the data for a particular project, their salaries and wages will not be considered as administrative under the FCRA Act. So friends, the concept of administrative expenses are almost similar across different regulations and should be taken care of by the charitable organization, because the donors are not giving you the FCRA money for incurring it on administrative expenses, a limit of 50% under the FCRA Act. So you cannot incur more than the limit prescribed. For more details, you can visit our website or log into our Facebook page, and for any query you can mail us or comment below. Thank you.